As oil and gas production booms in North Dakota, how is the state leveraging this situation to fortify its economic future? Hi, I'm Ron Wirtz, editor of the Fed-Gazette. How are local communities affected by this resource boom, and how is the state responding? These are the questions we investigated in the July issue of the Fed-Gazette. What we found is the state experiencing a fiscal evolution as it deals with the costs and the benefits of rapidly expanding oil and gas development. Those outside the Bakken region might not appreciate the local impacts of oil and gas production. Hydraulic fracturing is very labor intensive. It pulls in thousands of workers and endless deliveries of materials and equipment used in the drilling process. As you can see, regional employment has skyrocketed and growth is expected to continue. The region's 9,000 wells are expected to eventually total nearly 40,000. All this drilling, production, and transportation draws in even more jobs to meet the demands of the industry and its workers. Local populations have mushroomed, and a few counties in the Bakken tell the story. Rural Divide County, for example, lost residents the last decade, but is now seeing its population explode. These rapidly growing populations are putting pressure on virtually every public service and resource. Roads are crumbling, housing is in short supply, water and sewer capacity is insufficient in many areas. Public services most of us take for granted are either marginal or not available in some communities because they don't have the capacity to expand infrastructure at the pace of population growth. Fortunately, North Dakota's tax coffers are overflowing, and lawmakers are in a spending mood. In the recently passed two-year state budget, total general fund spending is expected to reach almost $7 billion. That's almost 70% more than the previous biennium. Much of the spending growth is in one-time expenditures funneled to local governments caught by the rapid demands of the region's expansion. But many local governments say it's still not enough. Despite significantly more funding from the state, data shows that oil patch cities and counties are receiving a smaller share of oil and gas revenue than their peers in other states. Advocates also point out that the state budget cycle can create a lag of 2 years or more between local impacts and the state funding that is supposed to mitigate those impacts. The state also has to keep an eye on the future to avoid Dutch disease. This is an economic ailment that comes from rapid resource development and increases the local costs enough to discourage ancillary businesses from taking root. Rather than becoming overwhelmed by the public and private wealth created by the oil boom, the state hopes the boom will be a springboard to the economy it hopes to have in 20 or 30 years. Diversification is the buzzword here, but there's no owner's manual to follow, and lawmakers are challenged by the accelerated pressures and the narrow time frame in which all of this is happening. North Dakota has made efforts to save money for the future, including a number of special use savings funds. Among them is a permanent trust called the Legacy Fund, which reached $1 billion in less than 2 years and is projected to reach $3 billion in 2015. Even with a bulging state budget, there's never really enough tax money to go around. There's much debate over the long and the short-term initiatives made possible by the oil boom. According to one local government source, you could ask 6 legislators and get 6 different opinions about what to do with all the tax revenue. It's an easier and shorter legislative session, she said, when there's no money to spend. Much more detail on these issues, as well as other articles on the 9th District economy, are available on the Fed-Gazette website nearby. We hope you enjoy this content, and we welcome your feedback. Thanks for watching and reading.